I first saw Claire in the honors macro seminar, the kind of classroom where only the kids with perfect grades walk in without looking like they're apologizing for existing. I took my usual spot, third row, far left corner, where I could watch everyone without being watched back. She planted herself dead center, front row, like the universe had personally reserved that seat for her since the day she was born. The professor barely finished asking a question about endogenous growth models when her hand shot up, half a second before mine. That half second felt like a blade sliding between my ribs. She answered smoothly, voice soft but unshakable, then casually dropped a reference to the latest JEP paper I'd read last week like it was nothing. Professor nodded, impressed. I sat there gripping my pen so hard my knuckles went white. Claire. Even her name sounded like a dare. The whole department knew her. 3.98 GPA, National Econ Olympiad team captain every year, the perpetual top pick for Goldman and McKinsey internships, the exact ones I'd been getting for since freshman year. I'd spent an entire summer polishing essays, practicing mock interviews in the mirror until my mom knocked on the door asking if I'd lost my damn mind. And then Claire's name showed up first on the shortlist. I hated her. Not because she was arrogant, she never bragged. She smiled politely when people congratulated her, said thank you like she meant it, even tutored the weaker kids in our study groups. But that polite, perfect mask made me want to scream. She was too much like me, working-class parents, the suffocating pressure to escape through grades, the same all-nighters, the same cold determination to outrun everyone so we wouldn't get left behind. Except she was always one step ahead. Always just a little better. Always recognized first. To me, Claire wasn't a person. She was an obstacle. The tallest wall on the path I'd mapped out at 18. Every time she stepped up to accept another award, it felt like she was stealing a piece of my soul. I told myself, I have to beat her. Just once. I have to prove I'm the one who deserves it more. So I started watching her. Not out of curiosity, out of strategy. I noticed how she drank black coffee, no sugar. How her fingers flew across the keyboard faster than I could track. How she carried that little black notebook everywhere, jotting down even the professor's throwaway comments. I noticed the way she tied her hair up when the lecture hall got hot, the delicate line of her neck, the tiny silver star studs in her ears. I hated that I noticed. But I did. One rainy afternoon I saw her under the library overhang, arms full of books, hair plastered to her cheeks. No umbrella. Just standing there watching the downpour like it didn't bother her. I was a few yards away, also soaked, but I didn't move. For the first time, Claire didn't look invincible. She looked breakable. Like if I reached out, she'd shatter. I turned and walked away, heart hammering. Don't be stupid, I told myself. She's the enemy. No softening. No distractions. I didn't realize that moment, when I turned my back on her in the rain, was the first time I started losing to myself. And Claire, the girl I'd labeled the obstacle, was about to become the one thing I couldn't walk away from. The email came on a gray, pouring Tuesday. I was in the dining hall, cold black coffee in front of me, when my phone buzzed. Subject line, Advanced Research Project Pairing, required for summer internship scholarship consideration. I opened it. Scrolled to my name. Partner, Claire Harper. My stomach dropped straight through the floor. It felt like the department, the advisors, the whole goddamn system was laughing at me. Pair me with Claire? My nemesis? I gripped my phone so hard I thought the screen would crack. The idea of sitting across from her, arguing, sharing ideas, unbearable. First meeting was 2 days later, 4th floor library conference room. I got there 10 minutes early, claimed the corner by the window, spread my notes like a battle line. Claire walked in exactly on time, ponytail high, white button-down tucked in, paper coffee cup in hand. She looked at me and smiled, that polite, professional smile you give a colleague, not the girl who's been hating you for 2 years. That smile made me want to bolt. Hi, I'm Claire. She stuck out her hand like we were strangers. I shook it, maybe a little too hard. I know. We dove in. Topic: Monetary policies' impact on income inequality in emerging markets. I came armed with a 10-page outline, dense with data and models, ready to dominate. Claire slid hers across the table, half the length, twice as sharp, and better. The first fight started 15 minutes in. Traditional VR is outdated, she said, calm as ever. We should use Bayesian VR, higher accuracy with short panels. Waste of time, I snapped. We only have 8 weeks. But the results hold up better. Professor Lamb eats depth for breakfast. I stared. She stared back. The air crackled. The next weeks turned into a string of late nights on the 3rd floor of the library, tucked in the quiet corner nobody else wanted. Yellow desk lamps, 2 exhausted faces, security guard who knew us by sight and let us stay until 2 a.m. We fought about everything: data sources, interpretations, commas and citations. I got loud. Claire never did. She stayed level, every word precise, forcing me to work harder just to keep up. But somewhere between the battles, I started noticing other things. The way she actually listened when I talked, eyes focused, scribbling notes, asking the exact question that exposed my weak spot. The way she remembered I take my coffee black and silently slid a cup across the table when I was too busy raging to notice I was dehydrated. The way she pushed her glasses up when she was tired, or accidentally brushed my shoulder reaching for the mouse. Every time our shoulders touched, I froze. Not annoyed, electrified. I'd turn back to the screen like nothing happened. One night, maybe 1 a.m., the library practically deserted, rain drumming on the windows. I was typing like a maniac when Claire suddenly stopped. You okay? You look wrecked. Nobody ever asked me that mid-grind. I always pushed until I broke and never complained. I'm fine, I muttered. She was quiet for a beat, then pushed a box of chocolate biscuits toward me. Eat. You skipped dinner. I stared at the box, then at her. She'd already gone back to typing like it was nothing. I took one. Too sweet for me. I ate 3. That night I started getting scared. Not of losing the project, it was turning out terrifyingly good because we were both too stubborn to settle. I was scared of me. Scared of how my pulse jumped when she smiled. Scared of how I started scanning crowds for her. Scared that I looked forward to these library nights even when my eyes burned. Claire wasn't just smart. She was gentle in the most dangerous way, gentle without being soft, gentle and still razor sharp. And that gentleness was slipping through every crack in the armor I'd spent years building. I was scared because I didn't want to beat her anymore. I wanted her. The project was past the halfway mark. We basically lived in the library, only going back to the dorm to shower and change. Same routine every night: black coffee, glowing screens, the steady clack of keys mixed with low-voiced arguments. I kept telling myself she was still the rival, that every kind thing she did was just sleep deprivation hallucination. I was lying. One evening the library closed early for maintenance. We didn't want to quit, so we moved to an empty 5th-floor classroom in the econ building, long table, a few chairs, whiteboard. The old security guy just shook his head and pretended not to see us. Rain hammered the windows. Fluorescent lights buzzed, casting everything in this hazy gold glow that made the room feel smaller, closer. We started out sitting across from each other, but the chairs kept scooting nearer until we were sharing one screen. Shoulder to shoulder. Thigh to thigh. I pretended not to notice. We were editing the conclusion. I typed a sentence, Claire read it aloud, tweaked the wording. Then out of nowhere she stopped and stared out the window. Rain like this makes me miss home, she said quietly. I never talked about home. Mine was a small Midwest town where everybody knew your business, where success meant marrying well and giving your parents grandbabies, not burying yourself in textbooks at some fancy university. What's yours like? I asked, voice rough. She turned. The lamplight made her eyes look deeper. Conservative, she said. Hardcore Baptist. Church every Sunday. Being gay is a sin. Two girls together, doesn't even have a name. Just lifestyle choice or demon possession. My heart thudded. She'd never told me this much. I thought I could hide it forever, she went on, softer but steady. Because if I ever said it out loud, I'd lose everything, the scholarships, my family, everything I worked for. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. Same, I rasped. Senior year of high school I had a crush on a girl. Never even held her hand. Someone told my mom. She cried for 3 days straight. Dad said it was a phase, blamed Hollywood. They dragged me to the pastor for deliverance. After that I learned how to hide. How to look away fast. How to pretend I was into the guys my friends set me up with. I looked up. Claire's eyes were shiny but dry. Just raw understanding that hurt to see. So we both carry a glass closet around inside us, she whispered. Yeah, I said. And that shit's heavy as hell. The air got thick. We weren't pretending to share the screen anymore. Our chairs were inches apart. I could feel the heat coming off her, smell coffee and her shampoo. Claire reached out, slow, like she expected me to flinch. Her fingertips brushed the back of my hand. Barely contact. My whole body lit up. I didn't pull away. We looked at each other. Rain drowned out everything else. Then she leaned in. Slow. Giving me every chance to stop. I didn't. When our lips met it wasn't movie perfect. It trembled. Her mouth was cold from the AC, then warm. I tasted black coffee and a hint of chocolate from the biscuits. My hand found her shoulder, light, like too much pressure would break the moment. She answered, fingers threading into my hair, tugging gently at the nape. The kiss deepened but stayed careful, like we both knew once we crossed this line there was no uncrossing it. When we broke apart our foreheads stayed touching, breathing ragged. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. But I didn't let go. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, every wall I'd built for years came crashing down. And for the first time, I didn't want to rebuild a single brick. I just wanted her closer. It started on a freezing Tuesday afternoon. I was in the library trying to finish the conclusion when an email popped up. Olivia Reed, please see Professor Harlan this afternoon. Claire didn't get one. I knew instantly, they'd already decided who was expendable. Walking into his office felt like walking to an execution. Same towering stacks of books, same stale coffee smell. Harlan adjusted his glasses and looked at me for a long time. Olivia, he finally said, gentle but heavy. You're in an excellent position. Your project with Claire is one of the strongest this year. The committee was very impressed, especially with your contributions. I waited for the but. But, your personal relationship is raising concerns. We can't have any appearance of impropriety in the selection process. You understand. He didn't say her name. He didn't have to. I gripped the arms of the chair. Our relationship doesn't affect the work. He gave me a sad smile. I believe you. But the committee needs clarity. If things were resolved, your position would be secure. Resolved. Meaning cut her loose. Sacrifice Claire so I could keep the prize. I left his office numb. Not exploding, just this cold, grinding ache. Because I finally saw it clearly, they were protecting me. Claire was the one they were willing to throw away. That night she texted, meet me in the dorm parking lot. Need to talk. I ran. The lot was dark, flickering fluorescent lights, wind whipping through the pines. She was leaning against her beat-up Civic, hands in her coat pockets, hair wild. When I got close I saw her eyes were red. Claire. My mom called, she said, voice raw. Someone from the department phoned my parents. An anonymous concerned party, letting them know their daughter was living in sin. I stopped breathing. I grew up in a tiny Midwest town too, she said, laughing without humor. Deacon Dad, church every Sunday. Being gay isn't a preference, it's something you get cured of. Mom cried the whole call. Said if I didn't stop, I shouldn't bother coming home. Ever. I wanted to hold her, but she held up a hand for one more second. I did everything right, she whispered. Top grades. Kept my mouth shut. Never made waves. And I'm still the one they leave behind. She stepped forward and took my freezing hands in hers. The worst part? Her voice cracked. If only one of us gets to keep going, it should be you. I shook my head hard. No. I don't want it like this. I don't want anything if it means losing you. She rested her forehead against mine. Her breath shook against my skin. But I can't stand you throwing away your future because of me. Then she kissed me, salty with tears, desperate, like she was trying to pour everything she had left into me. I kissed her back, arms tight around her waist like I could shield her from the whole damn world. When we pulled apart, she looked at me for a long time, eyes wet but resolute. That night I understood, love isn't always holding on. Sometimes love is letting the person you want most fly, even if it means you stay on the ground in the dark. Claire was ready to sacrifice herself for me. I wasn't ready to accept it. The internship announcement was in the biggest lecture hall the department had, bright lights, packed seats, finance guests in suits. Tension thick enough to choke on. I sat third row, left corner, my spot. Claire was one row ahead, a few seats over. We hadn't looked at each other once. Since the parking lot we'd kept it to short texts, staying apart so we wouldn't make things worse. A couple yards of carpet between us felt like the Grand Canyon. Harlan took the stage, smiling like a game show host. He went through the honorable mentions, working his way up. When he got to the main award, the full-time McKinsey internship, the room went dead silent. And this year's recipient is Olivia Reed. Applause exploded. Whistles. People turning to grin at me. I stood up on autopilot, walked the aisle like a robot. But I couldn't hear anything except my own heartbeat. I looked at Claire. She turned just enough for our eyes to meet. No tears. No forced smile. Just a small nod, calm, strong, like she'd been preparing to be left behind her whole life. I wasn't having it. I took the mic from Harlan. He patted my shoulder, whispered congratulations. I faced the crowd, hundreds of waiting faces, and my voice shook, but I didn't back down. I'm not accepting this. Dead silence. You could hear the AC humming. Not because I don't think I earned it, I said, steadier now. But because I refuse to play a game that punishes love by calling it conflict of interest. Gasps. Shifting in seats. Claire Harper and I built this project together. Every line of code, every model, every all-nighter has both our fingerprints. We're excellent not in spite of being together, sometimes because of it. Because we get each other. We trust each other. We push each other. I looked straight at her. She was gripping her chair, eyes wide. We grew up learning that success means hiding who you are. That if you're a woman who loves women, you shut up and smile so you don't inconvenience anyone. We've been quiet too long. We've been scared too long. My voice rang out clear even though my throat burned. If success means standing up here alone, pretending the woman I love doesn't exist, pretending the late nights, the kisses in the rain, the way we held each other through the storm, pretending none of that happened, then I don't want it. I set the mic down. Metal on wood, sharp in the stunned silence. Then I walked off the stage. Didn't look at Harlan. Didn't look at the crowd buzzing like hornets. I walked straight to Claire. She stood up, lips pressed tight, eyes shining. I held out my hand. She took it. Right there in the middle of the lecture hall, in front of professors, students, recruiters, hundreds of people, we held on. No hiding. No apologies. No running. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. Maybe they pull the offer. Maybe we both lose everything we worked for. Maybe our families never speak to us again. Maybe the future I planned since I was 18 is gone. But for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of being seen. I looked at Claire. She looked at me. We smiled, not triumphant, just free. And if we have to start over from zero, we'll do it together. Out. Proud. No regrets.